I think we're all set. Well, it's a pleasure for me to be here with a lot of old friends and making some new friends. What I would like to do today is to bring the story of North Carolina and what's happened in North Carolina as a result of the CAFOs to you. The example, the consequences that North Carolina has suffered through, sort of, I think, are a living example of what you don't want to do in other places. So that's basically the heart of what I want to do. I don't know what's happening in your communities, but if what's happening in your communities is what's happened in North Carolina, if you are the start of what we had, then what I have to show you today, I think, will be very informative. But before, let me move this a little closer here. Before getting into that, I think it's important that we reflect on the bigger picture. What you're seeing on the screen is our home. This is where we live. This is the only planet we have to live on. And as you can see from what's on the screen and as from what we know, a lot of it is water, it's air that we breathe, and it's a very, very accommodating environment for us as people to live in. It took something like 5.4 billion years for this planet to be created. Some say, most people believe God created this planet. Others believe that it just evolved. Regardless of what you believe, it is, in fact, where we live. The human beings have the earliest traces of humans go back about 2 million years, and people as we are today about 200,000 years. So we're a very small and new addition to this planet. And yet, in a very short period of time, as people, we have caused changes to this planet, to our home, that are unequal in the other time this planet has been in development. That's important because as we look at it, we really are looking at a number of things that I like to refer to as crimes against nature. Certainly the environment that we have has its violent side. The storms, the hurricanes that we know so well on the East Coast, the volcanoes, and like I said, the hurricanes, all these things, and this is one I know you all are very familiar with here. The planet has its violent side, but for the most part, this planet is a very, very accommodating place to live. Full of water, full of life, full of wildlife, everything in harmony. And everything, as we know, depends on everything else. The things that we do as people has an impact on the environment to the point where it changes the environment. It changes the conditions under which all the animals live. It's such a beautiful place. Even in North Carolina, the rivers, they're not all dead yet. They really are struggling. They're not all dead. But there's still an awful lot of beauty left in North Carolina. And life in all the different forms that you're seeing right now. If we had to try to bring the planet to life on this screen in video, we'd be here for forever. I mean, there's so much life here. And what's interesting, I think, about that is, as we look to other places, as we look through the Hubble telescope, as we get in our spacecraft and we fly, what are we looking for all the time? We're looking for the basic element of life, which is water. We're looking at Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, and we're looking at the moon even. And we get so excited when we think that maybe there's some water buried underneath that ground somewhere. Or maybe it's frozen, or maybe it used to be there. How important it is that we have water. How important it is that we have air. As we started out saying, this is the home that we live in. This is what supports us. And we are so stupid in the way that we treat this planet. We treat it like it is in liquidation. Like we have it to use, and somehow we're going to find another way, another place, looking to the skies, looking to the universe, to find another place with another planet. But the truth is, in all the time now that we've been looking, and all the efforts that we've made, we have not been able to find another planet anywhere out there that looks like this beautiful planet from space. And that's where I'd like to start, because now what I'd like to talk to you about some of the things that I call and refer to as crimes against nature. And when you think of that, sometimes it's only a couple of letters that bring the whole story home. Okay? And here are two letters that do that. Look at what we've been inundated with on our televisions now for the last months. Look at what's happened in the Gulf of Mexico. Think about those poor fishermen that cry all day long along the Gulf because they have lost their life. They've lost everything that their families have depended on. Think about all the people that are in the tourism business and the hotels and everything. The consequences of this crime on the Gulf have changed the Gulf, maybe, nobody knows for sure, but maybe forever. Maybe things will never be the same because of that one incident. That's just one example. There are so many more. I'm just going to cover a few here. This idea of clean coal, you watch the television, gosh, corporations spend so much money on trying to convince us that there's such a thing as clean coal. Clean coal is a dirty lie. From the time they rape the mountaintops to get it out, to the time that they extract it and take it and it's used and burned, mercury gets into the environment to the point today that we can't eat fish out of the ocean. We can't eat fish out of our own rivers in North Carolina. They're so full of mercury that we have fish advisories, mostly all along the Atlantic coast, not to eat the fish. You go to a store in many cases, not a store, a restaurant, and you're buying fish. You don't know how much mercury is in that fish. I challenge all of you to go to your computers and Google mercury in fish, and what you will read will convince you, as I am, that there's an environmental crime that's been committed of great significance on the environment that is affecting people as a result of this industry's activity. It's not just clean coal, it's the chemical industry. You know that you have Teflon in your popcorn, in your bags of popcorn. Do you know that we're finding Teflon in most of the rivers of the United States now? And Teflon, at least in the samples that they've taken with mice, is shown to be a cancer agent. So the chemical industry, and I could spend a whole day, a whole week maybe talking about, and we could all together talk about the damages being done to the environment through the chemical industry alone. Another example of what I think is an environmental crime. And then there's human waste, wastewater treatment plants, city streets that drain directly to the rivers. And think about this, something that nobody, or few people ever really think about. Every day, most of us take some kind of medicine. Birth control pills, Cialis for men, heart medications. We're taking all of these different pills, right? When we excrete from our body each day, some of those medicines are going to the wastewater treatment plant or going to your septic system, goes to the ground. They are not being removed from the environment. And most of these medicines that we're taking, pharmaceuticals, are ending up in our waterway. So, what are we seeing? We're seeing the male fish develop into female fish. We're seeing antibiotics in the waterways, not just from human use, but animal use as well. We're seeing that in the waterways. What is the eventual consequence of that? Nobody knows. But we're not even thinking yet of ways to be able to remove these medicines from our waterways. When you talk about human activity, you're probably talking about the very source. You are talking about the very source of pollution in our environment. Because without us, this environment would be much the same as nature wanted it to be. And remember, to make the planet the way it is, nature had to spend all these years having the right balance for things. What's in the air? The kind of air? How do you get clean air? How do you get clean water? All of these things. Nature took care of all that. Made it perfect for us. Now we're making it imperfect for ourselves, and global warming is an example of that. I didn't come here today to talk to you about all of these other things, but I did want to point out to you that they're out there. You all are here, and I'm here today to talk about CAFOs, because that's the thing that's in our backyard. If they call that NIMBY, I think it's a good thing, Not in my backyard. We should all be taking care of what's in our backyard. So for us and for today, what we really need to concentrate is on the CAFO. And as I said, I really want to talk about the example that comes out of North Carolina.
I think people are very little.
Before getting into that, I would